What up, peeps? It's your boy Heckin Steve. Welcome back to the channel. And today I am joined with RNG Gamer, a fellow YouTuber. What's up, man? How you doing?
I'm doing pretty well, man. Thanks for having me on.
Hell yeah, absolutely. What design do you got there on your t-shirt? Is that
Oh, it's
dolphins?
beautiful. My wife bought this for me. It's parakeets. It's
Parakeets.
birds. Yeah, it's real tasteful, classy,
That's
right? For
great,
the hot
man.
summer.
Oh yeah. Yeah, gotta have that collar shirt for the 80 plus degrees. You were telling me you grilled out today, and it looks like you got a decent, what is that, like your game room?
Yeah, this is my game room behind me. You're seeing one little small part of it, but there's close to 4,000 games down here. So
Oh man.
it's a big
See,
game room.
yeah, your collection is dinosaur size compared to mine. I think I have a little bit over 400 games right now. But how long
400.
have you been?
I've been collecting for 17 years.
Okay, yeah. So I mean, that's how you get to that point, unless you're just frivolously spending all the time to catch up like me. Because
Yeah,
I
frivolously spending is something you also do, but
right.
over time it does add up. And I started collecting back in the yesteryear of YouTube game collectors
Mhm.
back in the old Pete Door days, and stuff was like free. And
Pete
like all
Door.
these crazy stories, like I found a $700 game for $3. I mean, that happened to me and stuff. But these days, I just pay the prices everybody else does, and I'm fine with that.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, it's not too bad. I mean, there's this misconception with like video game collecting nowadays that you have to like have a $300 game, otherwise your collection sucks, and that's just not true. Because
No,
you
no,
can
no, no, no,
get
no,
so
no, no,
many
no.
games for like $5, $10, and
Yeah,
they just
and
kick ass.
yeah, I get it. Like I'm a gamer more than I'm a collector, and
Mhm.
I just wanna play fun games. If the game's 10 bucks and I have a great time with it, it's just as valuable to me as a game that I paid $800 for and I had a great time with. It's all about
Absolutely.
playing the games, and all these
Yeah.
are back here are just like memories on a shelf that
Mhm.
remind me of, like, an awesome experience I had, or a bad experience, or a sad
Right.
experience, or something like that. That's all this is.
Yeah, 'cause it's not necessarily about, it's not status collecting. Like we don't status collect. We memory collect and experience collect.
Yeah, I don't like, I never showed my game room to anybody till I started doing YouTube, and I didn't think anybody would care. This was just a cool room for me to sit in to play games. I just
Right.
wanna be surrounded by
Yeah.
the things I loved, and I don't have, like, a need to show it off to anybody. I do game room tours every couple years, and I've had other YouTubers come through my game room several times to video it because they wanna show it to people, and I'm happy to
Mhm.
show it to people, but as long as you love video games, we're on the same level. That's all that
Yeah.
matters to me, is, like, you love
Exactly.
video games, we wanna share that together. It's not like a pissing contest to see who's got more money. That's not fair, and that's not the way you wanna live your life, where all of this ends up being a competition. It's supposed to be something shared between people, a community,
Mhm.
not like,
Absolutely.
a way to show off.
I totally agree with you there, man. Yeah, I mean, some of my favorite games you can buy for less than $20.
Mine
So,
too. Yep, one of my favorite games
um,
is sitting right there on the PS4. It's Sayonara Wild Hearts. You can pick it up for, like, 12 bucks at GameStop anytime you want.
hell yeah, hell yeah. Yeah, I know. There are a few price games that I still would like to own, like Chrono Trigger being one. That's one. Dino Crisis 2, that's over $100 now. I had a dude in the comments the other day. Like I did the Southeast Game Exchange video, which is where we met
Mhm.
for the first time in person, and he got pissed at me. Well, no, it was for my Gamers Alley video. I was showing all the cool stuff that they had in the store, like they got
Right.
the complete in box, Earthbound, and all that. And then he's like in the comments, he's like, "You showed us all that cool stuff at the store, and then you over here getting the poop games. Like you just bought a bunch of poop games." I'm like, "What are you
Yeah.
talking about? Because they're cheap? It's like they're still
Yeah,
good games."
I get that. There is, like, a contingency of people out there on YouTube that they wanna see you buy the games. Now, I never really show in any of my videos, and most of my content is about, like, talking about games. Like, these are the
Mhm.
hardest games, or, like, these are the games I love, or I recommend these games. It's not like me going out hunting for games, although I
Yeah,
will do that occasionally, and I will do a convention video. I just did my Siege video today.
I
Um
watched it.
Oh, well, thank you. It was a
Yeah.
disaster.
Dude,
But
it was hot in there, man.
it was, and I was not feeling great. Like I said, I was sick. I had pneumonia. I had an upper respiratory infection.
Oh,
I wasn't
damn, man.
contagious. I never said that in the video. Everybody's like, "How would you go somewhere sick?" I wasn't contagious. It was an internal infection that ended up being pneumonia. But that being
Damn.
said, there are people that, like, they don't want you to show anything on the video unless you are buying it. Like,
Right.
don't show an $800 game unless you're gonna buy that, and I tend to stick to, when I show pickups videos, things I, like, buy or I'm really thinking about buying. I
Mhm.
see so many YouTubers that are like, it's a clickbait thumbnail, and it's like, "This freaking $1,000 game saved the day," and then they just, like, show it in the case at a game store,
Right.
and I'm like, "Alright, I'm fine with you not buying the game, but you gotta talk about the game, and you can't lead me to believe that you purchased that game. The $1,000 game saved the day because it gave you footage for your YouTube video. That's how it
Yeah.
saved the day. But you didn't interact with it. I want to see your interaction with the game, whether you buy it or talk about it or you negotiate buying it or you sell it. Just show me what the game means to you. Don't
Yeah.
just like rely on it being expensive, right? And
Right.
so there'll always be people in the chat that are like, they're unhappy. They're unhappy with whatever you do. You didn't buy the game. Why did you show it? You know? So I get it, man. I've been
I
there.
I'm one of the most indecisive people that I know personally. Almost as bad as Sheldon Cooper from The Big Bang Theory trying to pick the Xbox One over the PS4.
Yeah.
Where it basically just got to the point where I'm like, I just have to own everything that I might want so that I don't have to have remorse for whatever I decide. But I mean, dude, it's like it would be sweet to own like Earthbound complete in box, but I am never, ever, ever paying $2,000 for that game
I
because I'm
get you.
I'm just responsible,
Yeah.
as miss or I guess people don't think I'm a responsible person, but I mean, I would rather have $2,000. Um, I've always had that mindset though, because I know that games don't have to be expensive to be fun. So I could just if I was sitting there and really thinking about blowing 2 grand on one game, I would just be like, you know what? I think I'd rather have like 150 games for $2,000 than this one great game for $2,000.
I'm 100% with you. I
Yeah.
have a spreadsheet with like my wish list. And
Mhm.
whenever I go to decide to buy a game, I'll always start with the cheaper games because I know I'm going to have just as much fun with them as I am with the expensive ones. And as those start
Mhm.
getting cleared off, the games start getting more and more expensive, right? You start working your way towards the expensive ones. And
Yeah.
I'm fine. Like I said, I've been collecting for 17 years. There's not a lot of cheap stuff left that I need. I'm looking mainly
Yeah.
for the more expensive games. And now I've never spent $1,000 or $2,000 on a game. The most I've
Right.
ever spent was like $700, which is still a
Okay.
ton of money.
Oh yeah.
But that money is set aside for that. It's not coming out of like my family's money. It's my video
Mhm.
game collecting budget, which I put so much away every month to spend on video games. And when you've got so many video games, like some months you just don't buy anything. So it
Yeah.
starts adding up over time. And what a lot of people mention, they're like, how do you spend $700 on a game? And the truth is, you don't really spend $700 on a game. You take $700 of cash and you turn it into an item that is worth $700 and it sits
Mhm.
on the shelf and you get to enjoy it and look at it and play it. And if you ever want your money back, well, you just sell it for $700. There's nothing lost there.
Yeah.
If, but only if, you don't need that $700 for something else. If you need to
True.
save to pay off your credit card or you need a down payment on a car or something, you're spending the $700.
Right.
Man, I'm 6 years from retirement. So, I that stuff I've already taken care of. So, I'm in a position, fortunately, where I can spend something like that on a game. But I think a lot of people are crazy that they think they need to go out and buy the complete in box. Earthbound is a
To get
status
some kind
symbol.
of yeah, to get some kind of respect out of the community.
Yeah, exactly. Nobody cares, by the way.
Mhm.
We've
Right.
all seen stadium events. I've seen sealed Earthbounds in the last month. Like,
Yeah.
you're not going to impress anybody. What's important to us, the real gamers and the real collectors, are like your specific tastes in games. Can you teach me something new about a game I don't know? Can you
Right.
share that? That's what I think is really important, not like status symbol games.
I 100% agree. And plus, that's the thing too. Like, I even thought about, I haven't done this yet, but in my notepad on my phone, I have this video idea list, and one of them is, it literally says, "Play expensive games to prove they suck."
You're not wrong. You're absolutely
Yeah.
right. The best games got bought by people and they're common.
Mhm. Exactly. Grand
That's
Theft
just the
Auto,
way it goes.
Vice City, you know what I mean? Stuff like
Yeah,
that. It's like $8 unless you buy the remastered trilogy.
you're
But yeah, that's totally true. And like, if you really wanted to play Earthbound, you could get a loose copy for $400. Why wouldn't you just buy a Switch for 300 and then pay $20 for their yearly subscription and play Earthbound on there? And then you get a Switch.
you I agree with you. You can do that if you just wanna
Yeah.
play the game, but some people wanna have it sitting on the shelf.
Right.
And if
Yeah.
that's the case, and normally I wouldn't advocate for this, but if that's just the game, like the one game you want, brother, just get you a repro. I'm not gonna fault you
True.
for it if you're just gonna play it. Like, you have something nice
Absolutely.
to look at, you have that artwork, you get to pop it in your console and play it, do that. If that gives you the warm and tingly feeling on the inside that you had when you were a kid, I'm not gonna stop you from doing that, as long as you don't try to, like, flip it as the real thing, right?
Right. Yeah.
So, yeah, go all for it, man. It's all about the games, but I agree with you 100%. Like, if you just wanna play the games, just play it on Switch or download a ROM, and play it
Mhm.
that way.
Yeah. Just take one of the cheaper, routes and stuff. But yeah, like I was saying earlier, we did meet at Southeast Game Exchange, and you got a clip with me. I can't remember exactly what you asked me about, but I think it had to do with like dead birds.
Yeah, I was all right. So let me preface this and say 2.5 days before I went to the Southeast Game Exchange, I wasn't feeling very great. I had a bad cough in my chest and I was having
Mhm.
difficulty breathing. I thought I had COVID. I took a COVID test, no COVID. Went to the doctor and he's like, "You, sir, have an upper respiratory infection. You're not contagious. Your lungs are infected with a bacteria. Here's some antibiotics. Here's a steroid shot. Just rest." And instead of doing what he said,
Right.
I went to the Southeast Game Exchange, and the night before it, I went out partying and then got up early in the morning and went into the convention and walked about 11 miles,
Yeah.
and, my body just couldn't handle it, and I just fell apart. So, I started running a fever. I wasn't contagious, like,
Delirium.
I
You
just
got delirium.
I got delirium, and so day 1, I walked around doing God knows what, who knows. Day 2, I always do a fundraiser where I try to raise money for a different nonprofit. This year, it was Alzheimer's of Central Alabama, and I thought that that video would be boring, and it is. It's a fundraiser. I just walk around like I do trade ups. I trade up money or trade up games all day, and then at the end of the day, I sell it and donate all the money. But I wanted to speak to the content creators and ask them questions and intersperse it into the video to add some pizzazz.
Right.
And I was just like, what am I gonna ask the same question, like, "What's your favorite Xbox 360 game?" I was like, "I'm just gonna ask them random crap and see what happens." So I asked you some random crap, and as I recall now I haven't seen the footage of this because it's too embarrassing to watch for me, but I asked you something crazy about, like, probably throwing was it something about throwing dead birds out of a window?
Yeah. Compared to
Something
like something else.
Yeah, that seems like something I would ask. I asked, like, 30 people questions that were similar to that, and I had so many people being like, "Were you on drugs?" "No. No, I just had a really bad fever." So I apologize if I took you off
Oh,
guard, but
no, no. I thought it was hilarious because like I was expecting you to be like, so tell me, heck, Steve, what are you looking to buy at the convention? Or what's your favorite game? But then you were like, what would you rather throw out of a window?
yeah. Let me tell you something about questions like, "What's your favorite pickup?" Nobody cares. Nobody
Right.
cares. They wanna see personality. You have a big personality, I try to have a big personality. That's what people wanna see on camera. So, play to that.
Right.
Might as
No, it
well. So I
makes
was like,
sense.
yeah.
Now, I just remember when you asked that though, because see, the thing is, like, I just kind of like go with it most of the time, and like, I was just thinking in my head at that second, like, what the fuck did he just ask me? And then I was thinking like, I'm just gonna give him an answer so I can go home and go to sleep because I'm tired of being in this hot ass, big ass, loud ass place. Because I'm not a crowd guy at all. Like I don't like going to conventions and stuff. That was actually my first game convention, and all things considered, had a fantastic time.
Oh
But
man.
that's just not my normal scene. But it was nice to meet you, and I actually got to meet Mort and JRPG Life, and of course I met up with Picket Preacher, and then I met Boogie
Yep.
2988, which right now he's so wrapped up in drama, which that's his thing. But yeah, it was great though. I had a lot of fun, and I look forward to watching the video. I didn't realize we were doing it for charity.
Yeah,
So
it's
that's
yeah,
sweet,
that'll be in a couple of weeks. And I don't want to put like convention videos day 1 and day 2 back to back.
right?
So it'll be in a couple
Gotta
of
split
weeks.
it up,
But yeah, the conventions, like I am a crowd person. It doesn't bother me. I don't have any social anxiety or anything like that. I'll walk up to anybody and talk to them. And
yeah,
but I love meeting people. And the Southeast Game Exchange is my favorite convention in the whole world. I love how like game focused it is. There's so many conventions I've gone
yeah,
to where it's a gaming convention and like 80% of the stuff is like, plushes and
mhm,
costumes and cosplay stuff. I don't care about that. I don't want that. Like I don't want to buy like a freaking Charmander plush. I want to buy like a video game to play. So
yeah,
don't waste my time with that stuff. That's how I feel about it. But Southeast Game Exchange is huge, and you know, it's in South Carolina, but it's not too far from Atlanta, which is a huge hub. And a lot of
mhm.
people come there. I wasn't expecting to see you there, and I was thrilled to see you there. Um, so it's
Yeah,
really cool, but it is without a doubt overwhelming. I don't think I could take my wife. She doesn't like crowds and she doesn't like large areas like that. I don't think I could even take her in the Southeast Game Exchange. She'd
right.
walk in and be like,
Just
"We gotta go."
in general. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm glad I don't have it. I don't have it that severe. But yeah. One thing I will say though about the convention that I wasn't expecting was there was a lot of great deals. Like there was booths that had buy one get one free, buy two get one free, buy one get one half off. I didn't expect that, and I didn't expect there to be a huge bulk of like super affordable stuff. So that's what I did. I went in there. I kind of last minute decided to go. So I only had like a budget of like $140,
Okay.
which is pretty low for a convention.
Yep.
And I still walked away with like I think 8 or 9 games,
Yep.
maybe more. Might have been around 10, but yeah, I was expecting it to be like overpriced out the ass and just kind of absurd. Now there were a lot of places that had like plushes and collectibles and stuff, and those are really sweet to look at. But it wasn't overwhelming or overdone. Like it was a
Yeah.
majority of that shit was video games, which was really cool.
It I've said this many times and I believe this firmly. The best place to get a deal on a video game is at a convention. There's still something about like looking someone eye to eye and trying to like come to an agreement with them. Now, there is convention bloat where people will elevate the prices of their games
Right.
because they got to pack up their whole freaking store and drive it like 3 states away, and they got to pay for their
Yeah.
employees to work there, and they got to get hotel rooms. I get it. I get it, man. You do what you got to do. That's fine. I'll just not buy the games. Like
Yeah.
you do what you got to do. But a lot of vendors come to conventions to do 2 things. One is unload the rare and expensive games they can't sell in their stores because all everybody comes in to buy is like Nintendo and Pokemon and Zelda, and they don't
Yeah.
want to pay that 20% eBay fee, and they don't want to pay the 20% tax they got to pay on top of that. And they come to clear out low end bulk stuff. 5,
Right.
10, 15, $20 games that are filling up the shelves at their store and they've got 80 copies of it. They come to unload that stuff. So like the high end stuff and the low end stuff, a convention is the place to get that. The middle
Mhm.
stuff, you're trying to buy like a loose Pokemon cart, probably don't buy it at a convention. Like,
Yeah.
you're not going to
And
get a
see,
good deal on a $120 game. You might get it for 110, but an $800 game you might get for 500 bucks.
yeah.
And uh, you know, a bunch of $10 games, you might throw 10 $10 games on a table that you might pay $100 for somewhere, and they might be like, take it for 40 bucks. You're paying
Right.
$4 for a $10 game. And that's the reason I basically, instead of going out hunting every weekend for video games, I just save all my money and then just blow it all at a convention.
No, I mean that's a good point. And like, until I had went, I didn't know that you could do that because all the YouTubers that go to conventions, they literally just look at all the expensive like shit that they
Yeah.
can, like flip because most of them are resellers.
Yep. That's what most of the
But yeah,
videos are. They're people looking for stuff to flip, Pokemon and Tetris on the Game
Pokemon,
Boy and stuff.
Mario, yeah.
Yeah. Or they're just like high end rollers and they're like, let's see if I can get this complete in box Zombie Nation,
Or
But
they're like, I
most of
gotta
us are
complete
not
the
like
set.
that.
Right.
Most people aren't like that. Most collectors aren't like that. Of course, most collectors don't have a YouTube channel either.
True.
So
Yeah.
you got to get those viewers coming in. So, fortunately, I've never had to do that. I just kind of try to be
Yeah.
myself and hope people like it. And thus
Well, yeah,
far,
I
it's
mean
worked out
that's what I
okay.
do too. Like instead of spending hundreds of dollars on one video game, I just call people cocksuckers. And that seems to do the same trick.
I get it. There's a guy on the corner by my work that does that to me every day.
Yeah. Oh man. But yeah, we'll talk more about resellers here in a minute. But I wanted to ask you more about like your channel and everything. So I'm subscribed to your channel and I've seen I'd say my fair share of videos.
Oh man, I'm
I
glad to hear
watched
that.
most recently. I mean, I did watch the siege one you put out today.
Mhm.
But I most recently before that was the one. I think it was 5 games you regret buying.
Yeah, it was some. I think it was like 7 or something like that.
Yeah, yeah, it was,
Yeah.
but there was some poop on there. So I definitely agree with you there. Some of them I hadn't heard of, but you are the RNG gamer, and you
Yeah,
play all of your games randomly. And
I
I've been
do.
curious to know, like, how do you determine what to play? Like, do you have like a roulette wheel, or do you
Yeah,
just
brother.
randomly walk by the shelf and you're like, this is
No,
it?
no, 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 no. There's a big, long, complicated algorithm with a lot of different rules and
Okay,
nuances and banal minutia that nobody cares about. I'll give you the quick overview of it. When I get a game, it's split into 3 categories: new games, retro games, and then like portable games. And as I buy the games, I just add them onto the list chronologically. So the new games go at the bottom of the list.
gotcha.
And as I finish games and I delete them off the spreadsheet, I leave that spot blank. And whenever I finish a game and it's time to pick a new game, I take all of the games on the list, I put them on a big roulette wheel and spin it. And whatever game it lands on, I play. But if it lands on a blank space where there was a previous game that I already beat, I play
Yeah.
the very first game on the list. Meaning that
Oh,
over
okay.
time, there's a better and better chance that the oldest game on the list gets picked.
That's
So that's
actually
prime. You go on ahead.
that's I was just gonna say that's pretty genius because like me, I have such a huge backlog, and sometimes I'm like, man, should I play that? Nah, I'll play that for a really long time when I could just play this game instead because it won't take as long because I know it's a short game. Blah 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 blah, and then you don't play shit. Then
Yeah,
you just look at the wall and you're like, man, I ain't playing nothing. I'm gonna go play
that's
Call of Duty again.
that's exactly why I started doing it. I had a
Yeah.
backlog when it hit about 500 games. I remember I used to keep my games that I hadn't played stacked in the corner. And I was like, that's my physical backlog over there. I'll play through it over time. And then I would look at it and I'll be so overwhelmed that I was like, it was literally Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. I was like, I'll just go back to playing that. Like, that's
Right.
fun. Like, why spend this time? So I started forcing myself to play everything randomly. And I started doing this like 10 years before I started doing YouTube. The other caveat with my random game thing is that when I live stream, I let the viewers pick the games from my backlog.
Okay.
And so I also play the games that they pick. And so when they I when I originally started YouTube, I didn't want to make any money doing it. I was just like, "Don't, this is just fun." So I was
Passion.
live streaming and people started donating and I was like, "Don't donate. Don't keep your money." But they do it anyway.
You
So
know,
it's like, "Well,
you feel weird about it, don't you?
I feel weird about it." But I decided that if they're going to donate anyway, they're going to get something for their donation. And the thing
Right.
they get for their donation is they get to work towards picking a game from my backlog they want to see me play.
Okay.
So in
Yeah,
all my
because
live
it's
streams, there's like a ticker at the bottom, and when it gets to the top of the list, when we get $100 in donations, we play the game that everybody picked for me to play. And
that's
so
awesome.
they get content. I mean, we're playing Lies of P now. They've gotten 30 hours of watching me suffer for their donations. So they at
Are you
least get
enjoying the
something
game at
for it.
least?
I am enjoying the game, but it's like 20% too long. It needs to
Right.
have just been cut down just a hair. I'm at the last area. I'll probably finish it this week.
I can think of a few games off the top of my head that are about 20% too long. Um, but no, that's awesome because like you've basically what do they call it? Selectors block or something. You run into that when you're trying to find something on Netflix and stuff too.
Yep. You doom scroll forever and then end up not doing
Doom scroll.
anything. You take your hour that you
Exactly.
had to watch a TV show and you spent 45 minutes of it scrolling through freaking Great British Bake Off shows and crap and never picking anything. This has solved all that. It has removed so much stress from my life, not picking my games. And I have to say this, the thrill of picking the game randomly, it feels like the thrill you get gambling. It's
Right.
almost as exciting as playing the game itself.
No, that's great. I might actually have to implement that into my own backlog because man, I can't even tell you what I'm playing right now. Well, I'm gonna be playing college football 25 probably later tonight, but
I get you, man. You're ready? You're going to play as Clemson?
I might play as Clemson. I don't know because like I was telling you before we started, I'm not a huge college dude, so like I don't know, but I'll probably fiddle around, see what color schemes I like the most. But
Okay.
I've heard like great things about that game. Um, but how long have you been doing YouTube content?
Not even 2 years. It'll be 2
Okay.
years next month.
See, that's great, man. And you're already up to looks like 11,000 subscribers, I think is what I saw.
Yeah, that's about
So
right.
that's good, and I'm almost to 8,000, which I still can't believe, but I'm glad that people enjoy the stuff, and it's a lot of work, as you know, and you do a lot more editing than I do. All I really do is I just pan in on my face, say something, and then zoom back out, and I do that like 50 times in a video. But you're like actually like doing like cuts and transitions and
I I
over
tr
narrative.
I try to edit, but it takes a lot. YouTube takes a lot of time. People don't
It
understand
does.
how long it takes. So the average YouTube video you watch, for every 1 minute of footage, it's 2 to 3 hours of editing.
So for you, yeah, but for me, it's about 10 to 20 minutes
It's
for
not
every
that
minute.
for me. It's not that for me. So my
Yeah.
videos range between like 20 and 30-ish minutes long. It takes me about 10 hours to edit them.
Hell yeah. And see, that's what I like most about doing these hanging withs because not only do I get to like learn from other YouTubers and like talk with them and stuff, but there is literally no editing. Like I put my intro on it and then I stick this clip file and then I just put my outro and that's it. And then upload it.
You solved the algorithm. You did it. It's
Yeah.
all you. You did it. I can't do that. I can't handle that. I'm fortunate though, and people have told me this. I've heard of so many people that do content similar to mine, and they're like, it takes me 100 hours to do a video. And I'm like,
I'd lose my
why?
mind.
Why? Like, I watch the videos. I'm
Right.
like, why? And they're like, man, it takes me 40 or 50 hours to write the script. I was like, scripts? People write
Script.
scripts.
How
I
can you be personable if you're not speaking your mind like in the moment?
Yeah. So I just do my YouTube videos like I'm doing this. I just talk with what's in my head and hope I remembered everything correctly. Sometimes I misremember stuff.
Mhm.
Everybody does. But I just try to be myself and I try to talk to the viewer like I'm talking to them in real life. And
Exactly.
that's when I'm at my best. And I do my best when I'm acting on my feet and I don't plan anything out. I like to just be thrown into the situation. I have written a couple scripts a couple of times, and it's real like wooden and awkward and stilted and strange as I'm trying to read off stuff.
Yeah.
Even when I like cut the gameplay footage and there's voiceover, it's not voiceover. I'm standing where I filmed the live segments and I'm just like talking and looking at my feet.
Yeah.
So I just put it's just a long, like hour-long video of me rambling and looking at the camera, and I just put the gameplay footage on top of that. And people have said,
Right.
like, "I love how your voiceover sounds exactly like it does when you're live on camera." And I'm like, It's because I am live on camera.
Yeah, that's because all I did was, I do that too. When I do my pickups videos and I want to show gameplay,
Mhm.
I just record me looking dumb, talking about a game, trying to think in my head, like, what about I'm trying to convey. And then, yeah, I just cut the video and leave the audio and then just put the gameplay over it. But I will say this as far as the type of videos that I make, that a lot of people don't know this. A few people do because they've asked me about it, and I've always been like pretty honest about how I do my videos. Is for every like one, let's say like for every like 30 minutes that I record, I probably use about 7 minutes of it.
Okay.
So there's a lot of me like I'll be watching somebody do something, and then I'll be like, what a scratch that, and then
Yeah.
I just let it keep going, and then I go, what a butthole, or like
Yeah.
whatever it is, or I'll be like, maybe I don't want to call him a butthole because it's so generic, so I'll be like, I'll sit there while it's recording, and I'm just thinking like, what can I say that is so absurd? People will be like, how did he think that up?
Oh, I love it.
Yeah. So then, like, while I'm editing and stuff, all I literally have to do is just be like, scratch that. And then I just cut that part. And then I
Mhm.
just rewatch the video and then rewatch it before I upload it. But yeah, for about every 30 minutes that I record, I get about 7 to 15 minutes of actual video out of it.
That seems about like what I've heard. Mine's not that bad. I recorded a video today, and it was about 45 minutes, and I'll get about 30 minutes out of it. I'm
Right.
kinda like a wind-up toy. Like, you just twist me and I just go, and my mistakes, instead of, like, doing second takes, I usually just leave the mistake in and then embrace how dumb I am, like, in a
Yeah.
self-deprecating way, and people seem to like that. But, yeah, I will do a couple of takes for, like, the intro or something like that because I don't wanna stumble over my words, but I'm fortunate that, as a person who speaks a lot and is an educator and speaks to live people all the time, that I typically don't stumble over my words too badly. I'm pretty good at
Yeah.
it, so I'm fortunate. I'm very fortunate that I have that excuse me, skill set already. So the filming the videos takes no time at all. It's just mainly editing.
Right. And the thing too about making YouTube videos, for anybody that's watching that's thinking about making YouTube content, is learn as you go. Make a stinker video and just keep going. Eventually you'll improve. That's what I did. I mean, like if you watch my first videos, they are pretty horrible. And the only thing that you can really take from that video, like an older video, is the personality is good. And there's this like unwritten formula to making YouTube videos that we all follow, but we also have to figure out how to perfect being ourselves while also following this trend of how a formula for a video is supposed to go.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly. We both do in studio stuff. We're just like in front of a camera, and it
right.
just relies on our personality. So, like, what do? Like, you have to have a better personality than everybody else. You have to have a
Got to be
different
silly.
personality. Yeah. Or you have to say something that no one has ever said before. And I try to do all those things, and I fail sometimes. Sometimes I succeed, but you do have to get better every video you make. You need to learn one new thing every time you make a video. Need to learn to
Absolutely.
enunciate better, or like do a better cut, or learn what an L cut or a J cut is, or something like that.
Hmm.
Because YouTube is a ruthless, barren wasteland of just mistakes. Everybody on that platform is making mistakes all the time. And it's some people don't wanna fix them. They don't wanna get better because they feel like they need to keep it real, right? I need to be who I am. I was like,
Yeah,
"Be who you are. Don't lie about who you are. Just be the best you can be, because the best you is the one that is gonna get your message out to the most people." And that's what it's about, like, getting your message out. It's not getting those views. It's not making
yeah.
that money. It's getting
That
what you
comes
need to
when,
say out to people.
yeah, and the views and stuff, they come when you're relatable, and that's why when we were talking about the scripts and all that, like I try to have, if I do have a script, I keep it like really loose because I want people to see me. or like see the character, like if I'm doing a reseller reaction video. Um, but I've been doing a lot more like game hunting type of content stuff, recording with the phone. Now, I'll tell you this. I feel like the biggest dork walking around in public with my phone recording, or if I had a camera, maybe I'd feel a little bit better because then it seems like I'm like a real YouTuber. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like I got this expensive ass camera. I'm trying to make some real shit here. Um, but yeah, I mean, you got to keep your personality in there, and then like the editing and all that stuff. That you get better at that every time. Now, one thing I would say about your videos is that you're really good at informing or educating. You're like a really good teacher. So like when you're describing a game or you're talking about something, mixed with the tones that you use in your personality, like in your voice, I'd say that you do a really good job with that. And so like on as far as like what I watch on YouTube, I literally watch all kinds of obscure shit. But my favorite stuff to watch is like educational like stuff about tech or video games or learning about new video games. Like Retro Bird, I love watching that guy.
Yeah, I like Retrobird too.
Yeah. So that's the stuff that I like to watch the most. Or Gaming Historian, which is like
Mhm.
the goat of that
Yeah.
type of stuff, I think. He doesn't put out enough videos, but when he does, now I can understand why that guy would take 100 hours to edit a video because his videos are
It
usually like
it
an hour long.
it probably takes like 5,000 hours to do one of his videos.
Which
Just
is
the
why he makes
research, like,
whatever.
blows my mind. When he puts up, like,
Yeah.
old articles that he pulled from, like, a newspaper from, like, 1984 talking about the FM towns,
I
Marty or
know.
something, I'm like,
Or he finds this like old ass footage. I'm like, where in the hell?
yeah. Yeah, he's, like,
Oh,
in the
I'm glad.
archives at the library, like, digging through, like, microfiche and, like, old
He
newspaper
made me
clippings.
care. He made me
Yeah.
care about the background to Oregon Trail.
Yeah. That was a
Like I
great
know about that
video.
game now
That
because I
was a
mean
great
I've always
video.
known about the game, but
Yeah.
like now I know about the people that made the game and what they went through to get it done.
Yep. They
So
just
yeah,
wanted
he's
to
great.
educate, that's all they wanted to do, and that's why that game stood the test of time, because it wasn't
Yeah,
about them, it was about everybody else.
absolutely. All right, so let's go ahead. We'll talk about resellers for a little while.
Sure, why
Uh,
not?
so I wasn't sure if you were a reseller or not. You told me that you're not, before we started. Um, but where do you stand on resellers and reseller culture, and how has it impacted you as a collector? And keep in mind, I'm referring to bad resellers that like lowball the crap out of people, like for the most part.
Oh, I'm aware of the kind of resellers you're talking about. I know resellers of all ilks and kinds. Um, Now, I'm an interesting case in this situation, probably unlike most people you're gonna run into. I, uh I don't fault anybody for arbitrage, right? I mean, you're trying to buy something for $1 and sell it for 2, you gotta make that money, you do what you gotta do. That's fine, I get it. Taking advantage of somebody to make that dollar, I don't think that's okay. And
Mhm.
personally, I don't flip stuff, I don't really care to. If I'm out hunting and I'm, like, looking for games for myself and, like, something falls into my lap, like, let's say there's a Super Mario World that's worth I don't know how much Super Mario World's worth, $20. That might be
Yeah,
wrong, that might be right, who knows? I
15 to
don't need
20,
Super
I
Mario
think.
World, I got it sitting over there on the shelf. I'll just stack it in my closet over here, and then I wait till a convention happens, and I just trade it to somebody, or I sell it to somebody for, like, I don't know, man, $10. I probably paid $2 for it. I don't care, I would rather trade it and everybody benefits. But reselling is an interesting situation right now, and the game collecting community it has changed so much. When I first started, resellers and people that flipped games were like the devil. If you found a good deal at a game, like at a yard sale or something like that, and you tried to make a profit on it, you were ostracized. You were kicked out of the community. You did not believe in gaming. You were in it for the money. And now being in it for the money is like the cool thing. That's
Mhm.
relatable. Everybody in the world's in it for the money. We all want to make money. So that's really marketable. The problem, I think, lies in the interpretation of how that reselling raises the games overall in the community to a point where it's unaffordable. And I like to relate it to the housing market. the housing market right now is really inflated. So inflated that a lot of people want to buy a house and they can't afford it. And I feel so bad for them because I want everybody to have exactly the house they want. That's what I want for everybody. But for me, I already own a house. So the housing market going up in value, that helps me. It doesn't give me what I want. What I want is for everybody to get a house, but it helps me. I'm in a win-win situation no matter what happens. And it's the same way for resellers. I have 4,000 games down here. It's worth over $150,000. If the value goes up, because some resellers driving the value up, that only helps me. But what I want is for every game in the world to be like $1. So everybody can buy every game they want. I want that. That would also help me. If every game was $1, I would just buy more games. So I can't lose. And that's unfair for everybody else, but not for me. And I understand that. And that's what a lot of resellers don't understand, is that for some people, it's a benefit. They're making money for a group of people, but they're hurting another group of people. And I think there's a balance there where you can try to help everybody. And a lot of resellers just don't get that. They'd rather help the people that have already been helped enough while hurting the people that are hurting, right? You're boosting the rich and you're stealing from the poor. Now, the video game collector community, the prices are being driven up by resellers. But the things they're driving up for most collectors aren't really things collectors really want. I don't need any Pokemon games. I don't need any Zelda games. Caleb Phoenix Resale is not out there buying freaking Snatcher on the Sega CD. He's not driving up the price of that.
Yeah.
People like me are driving up the price of that, the big collectors. So they're not reselling. It's just a supply and demand thing. So there's a lot of things going on there that make it a complicated situation. I don't fault anybody, like I said, trying to make $1, but I really don't like it when somebody rolls up to a yard sale and they see $2,000 worth of games sitting there on a rug. And they go, how much do you want for this? And the person says, I don't know, $100. And the guy goes, would you take 50? That's wrong. If they roll up and there's $2,000 worth of games for that, and they say, how much do you want? And they say $100, and they say it's worth a lot more than that. They could offer $1,000 or $1,500 and make a handsome profit. They would make more money that day than your average worker would make working a 9-to-5 job
in a month.
Yeah.
But
they decided to take just a little bit more. So I think that's not right. And I always try to offer fair prices. I will negotiate and haggle, but I'll haggle a lot more with a reseller or a store owner than I will somebody at a yard sale, because the resellers and the store owners, they should know better. And in their job, they should be a better haggler than me. They should be better than me. That's their job. So if I pull one over on them, I pulled one over on them, and I don't feel bad about that. But I'm not going to go up to some little old lady who's I got thrown out of a store. I told a video about this in my video. This woman walked in with her son's video game collection. He died in Afghanistan.
Oh, man.
And she comes rolling up into this game store, and I'm standing there, and she's like, here's all this stuff. And I'm looking through it, and it's thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars of stuff. Rare PlayStation 1 RPGs, complete and boxed Chrono Trigger, like everything you want, everything the people want. And the store owner looked at her and goes, ma'am, I'm sorry, this stuff's just not really worth anything. You know, you'd be lucky to be able to have somebody haul it away for $100. You might have to pay me to take it. I'll give you $50, but you know, I don't want to have anything to do with that. And I straight up looked at her and I was like, that stuff is worth thousands of dollars, and don't listen to him. And he banned me from his store. And it's the best store in town. I can't even shop in it anymore. So
but you did the right thing, man. That's
all you can do.
The right thing to do.
How do you
Yeah.
not do the right thing? How do you sleep with yourself at night when you didn't do the right thing? You're gonna pull something over on somebody to make like a couple of $100. It's not
Mhm.
worth it. Make
Yeah.
$50 and sleep at night.
You know, you pretty much summarized it like perfectly. Like I wish I could summarize it like that sometimes because I have a hard time getting my point across in videos. But no, you summarized it pretty well. Um, but I will say this, you know, now it's to the point where the bar for resellers and like all these new guys that are coming in, because I've been covering a lot of channels that like barely exist, like they just started,
Yeah.
and trying to expose them, you know, and get the word out. Um, all these little reseller spawns.
Yeah, I
But
know.
the bar is set so high now where it's like, man, I could give them $100 for this $1,000 game, but the YouTube video will perform better for me if I give them $4 for it. You know what I'm
Exactly.
saying? And it'll
Exactly.
make me look good on camera. So like now you've got some absurd stuff. My new video that came out today, there's a person buying pickles and flipping pickles on whatnot.
I saw that. I was listening to it as I was grilling. Yeah,
That's that's so absurd.
it's absurd. And like I said, when I started this community, like I said, resellers were ostracized. They were not part of the community. It was about the
Mhm.
games. And it
Yeah,
was like you're trying to find the best deal you can because you want to play the games.
right.
And it was about elevating the games. Like you're bringing the games up. And now it's a push towards the bottom. You're trying to see how low you can push somebody down to see how much money you can make.
Mhm.
So instead of it being about the games, it's about like oppressing someone's livelihood, right?
Right.
Like how much the more I hurt them, the better my video will do, which I think is like a negative feedback loop, right? You're getting negative reinforcement, but it's giving a positive outcome. You're getting more subscribers, you're getting more views. So you have to be more and more and more negative towards other people. And
Yeah.
I mean, it's money positive, right? That's the way it feels. Like this is a positive video because I made all this money.
Yeah.
But you
It's good
didn't
for me. It's good
grow,
for me because of the money. Yeah.
right? But you didn't grow anything. You grew your subscribers, you grew your wallet, but you didn't grow a community and you didn't grow the general well being of the people around you. At the yard sale you were at, you didn't help them. You didn't help them. Like they're
Right.
worse off for you being there. If you hadn't been there, somebody else would have come along and gave them the $1,000 or whatever they were asking, right? You got there first and they're
Or
worse off
told him.
for it.
Yeah. You know, sometimes I wonder if people like Philly Flipper, for example, you know, he paid someone, they wanted $25 for a box of books. He talked them down to 20, and then he ended up making $4,000 off of that box of books. I wonder
Yeah.
if he ever thinks about those people seeing that video and being like, holy moly, that guy ripped us off so bad. And you know, and here's the thing, man. I used to work for Amazon doing customer service, and I worked in the scams department for a while because
Ooh.
people would go on Craigslist or whatever, and they'd see a listing that says trying to sell this Honda Civic 2015 with like 15,000 miles on it for $1,000, and I want payment in Amazon gift cards
Yeah.
and stuff like that. And then people would fall for it and call Amazon, being like, "Where's my car?"
Yeah.
And then I would have to tell them that they got scammed out of $1,000, or sometimes it was $2,000. And you know, there'd be times where I would explain this to somebody, and they would be like, "Oh, shame on me for being so stupid." But then again, it would be somebody that lost like $500, and they would be like, "Oh my God, you have to make this right. I can't believe you let this happen to me," and blah blah blah, and like lose their shit.
Yeah.
So I wonder if they ever think about the fact that somebody would see that video, track them down, and do something horrible to them for being such a piece of shit.
Probably not because a lot of them are
Yeah,
not focused on anybody else. It's just about what happens
exactly.
for them.
Self-centered.
And
Yeah.
I get it. I mean, there are people out there. There are good resellers. Pick and Preacher, I think, is a great reseller. Mort's a great reseller. I mean,
Yep.
They're trying to make a buck, but it seems like everybody along the way is happy with what they got. And the video you were talking about with Philly Flipper, where he picked up the box that was worth the books for like $4,000, and they wanted 25, and he offered them 20. In that situation, that's one of those where, like, I've never been in this situation. I don't know how I would take it. I don't think knew the box was worth $4,000. It's one
He
thing to
didn't.
like see something you think is junk, and it's like $25. I'll give them, see if they'll take 20. I don't know, and then it ends up being worth a lot of money. That's one thing. But walking
Mhm.
up and seeing a box full of freaking sealed Chrono Triggers, and you're like, "How much do you want?" And they go $25, and you're like, "Would you take 20?" Like that's totally different. There have been a few times in my life where I've had crazy deals fall into my lap like that. And that's just good luck.
Mhm.
And good luck is something different than forcing opportunity.
I have to
And
lie to them so that I can get this for really cheap.
yeah,
Yeah.
right.
There's a huge difference. Now, just to follow up, I'm pretty sure for the most part, everybody's seen the Philly Flipper video at this point. But in the video, he says, I felt bad. Like after he found out how much money everything was, he's like, I felt bad. So I wanted to go back and give them another $100, which is a nice gesture, right? But then he ends that sentence by saying, I wanted to go back and give them $100 because I felt bad for paying so little, and also to see what books might be in those other boxes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's
Yeah.
just like, I'm going to try to seem like a nice guy, but really I just want to go back and try to make another 4 grand off of them.
The $100 to me is like the key element in that story, because one, out of $4,000, that $100 is nothing, right?
Yeah. That's
2.5%. Right.
yeah.
That's no money. That's insignificant. But to
Right.
someone else that didn't know any better, $100 would feel like a nice gesture. So
Hmm.
he picked something that was meaningless to him. It would feel like a nice gesture to some unknowing person, right?
Yeah.
I think that is really the key element to that story. The way it should have
Sociopathic.
gone is this: he paid them $20 for it, not knowing it was worth anything, and he made 4 grand on it. And let's just say that he had to pay $1,000 in eBay fees or taxes or whatever. So he really only made 3 grand. He should have given them $1,000.
Right.
$1,000
33%.
is a good gesture, and most importantly, it would have made a difference for them. I don't know very many people out there where $1,000 wouldn't make a little bit of a change in their life. He could have
And it
helped
would have
them.
he could have filmed it too, and I bet you that fucking video would have done way better.
Yeah,
Like performance wise, everybody would have shared that out. They'd be like, "Look at this reseller, man. He freaking gave them $1,000 for something after he realized that it was worth a fortune."
yeah,
Uh, but that's the thing too, is like there's always a disagreement that these dudes come up with, or like their followings when they comment. They'd probably be like, well, if you gave him $1,000, then they know something was up and he wouldn't be able to make any money off the new boxes. I'm like, well, that's not the fucking point, dickhead.
yeah,
It's like you got to do right by people, man. And I think when it comes to the video game resellers, the ones that are good and not really on my shit list, if you will, are the ones that are gamers first, resellers second, like the Pick and Preacher, Mort's Garage, even M. Seamer came around. He's like one of my best friends now, and I never ever would have thought that. But we
yeah.
we text all day, and we play Call of Duty, and we play other video games. He's going
Mm.
to be playing college football with me, and it's just crazy that happened because I never thought I'd be friends with that guy. But he's a great friend, and I think that has a lot to do with it. So like when you have people now, Caleb, he is a gamer. He does play video games, but I feel like he had a really sheltered life. So his exposure to games is mostly Nintendo stuff. Because you
Yeah.
never see him talking about PlayStation or maybe 360 a little bit, but it's mostly Mario, Zelda, Pokemon, and Wii Sports and shit like that.
Caleb, I've known a lot of people a lot like Caleb. I grew up in the church. I went to a private Christian university, and I've known a lot of people just like him. And it's a type of personality that you have to get to know. And Caleb is much different in real life than he is on camera.
Right.
It's very strange, but yeah, Caleb, like I said, he's got his thing. He has a unique niche where he can pay people more than fair prices because he price gouges people on Amazon.
Right.
So he has like this weird special type of arbitrage going on that most people don't even have access to. So, I mean, whatever. He found a loophole in the system. Good for him. But like I said, he's out there flipping stuff I don't care about. He's driving up the price of Pokemon. He's driving up the price of Mario. He's driving up the price of Zelda. He's driving up the price of Wii Sports.
Wii
Sweet.
Sports. That's what I meant. I think I said Switch Sports earlier,
Yeah.
but I meant Wii Sports.
I've already got those games. Drop them
too.
up, man. Make them $10,000 a piece. Congratulations, me. I'll go buy a new Lexus. So that's things. But like the 13-year-old that wants Wii Sports because he saw it on a YouTube video and he thinks it looks really fun, and he asked his parents for Wii Sports, and they don't have the time to go out and find a copy of it. They hop on Amazon and they're like, Wii Sports, $45 on Amazon.
Yeah.
That's cheap for a Christmas present. Boop-a-doop-a-doop. And Caleb makes $39 on it.
Right.
Like, is that fair? I think everybody in that situation feels okay with it. But like karmically in the universe, I feel like something is unbalanced. So who knows? I know Caleb. He's been nice to me. I've been cordial with him, but yeah, I don't buy anything from Caleb.
Right. I wouldn't buy from him either. And speaking about him, I guess I don't really have a lot of beef with him anymore as far as his business goes. Now, I definitely still don't like his business. I don't like retro games being on Amazon because it's still messing somebody up unknowingly, probably, or strong arming them into being like, well, I could try to find it for a few dollars somewhere, or I could just say fuck it and buy it on Amazon and have it in 2 days. But when you think about how his channel started, the videos that really blew up for him were the ones where he was showing people that you could go to Walmart and buy these clearance games for like like $1 or 5 cents.
Yeah.
So he started out as a channel that sort of helped everybody, because like in that case, gamers, resellers, both of them could be like, yo, I got to go to Walmart, see if I can get this game for 5 cents. And then it just kind of gradually grew to where he wanted to collect his own GameCube childhood collection. Ended up getting that. Everybody was really excited and kind of supported him through that. And then he was like, I'm going to keep 40% of it and sell 60% of it. Now, if you ask him and what he says in podcasts, he kept 60% and sold 40. But I've done the math, and it's literally the other way around. And you know what? It's not even that big of a deal. But the fact that he knows he's wrong and still says otherwise because it sounds a little bit better for him really bugs me. And then that really rubbed people the wrong way as far as like him being a gaming channel. And that's why I started classifying him as a business channel.
He's a business channel.
Yeah. Chase after the right price as well.
Channel, 100%. It is about running a business, and the gaming is just the mode by which he runs the business. He could be buying and selling cars. It's a flipping channel. It just happens to be that he's buying and selling flipping video games, right?
That's how I feel about Chase.
Yeah, I mean, and that's fine. There's money to be had there, and whatever, more power to him. But I'm not gonna play that game. I'm not part of that game. I'm someone else.
Yeah. Right.
But yeah, I get like finding something and flipping it. But the thing that always bothered me about the GameCube Gambit, what do you call it? The GameCube Gambit?
Yeah.
Was that it was like, I'm building up my childhood collection, my dream collection, the collection I always wanted to have.
Mhm.
That's what all of us collectors are doing. We're trying to build up the collection we've always wanted, the things we've always trying to I want the things I had when I was a kid, and then I want the things that I could never have when I was a kid, and then I want the cool things that I didn't know existed when I was a kid. That's what we're all doing as collectors. And he laid into that with people, and because people like me, big collectors, feel that draw to build that collection, we're like, "I'm gonna help you achieve your
Mhm.
goal. I want you to feel that. I want you to have that collection." And so they helped him out. They sold things at a discount. They gave him games. They went out of their way to take things out of their own collection that they wanted to sell to him, trying to help him out.
Right.
And then he sold a bunch of it. And I don't agree with that. Just like you, I don't feel like that's okay. Someone went out of their way to do him a favor, and he exploited that for profit.
Yeah.
It's a little
Because
different than being like, I walked in a store and they had, Pokemon box for $800 and I picked it up and I sold it for $2,000 on Amazon. Okay, fine. The store should have known better. But when you're like, brother, I had a copy of Pokemon box when I was a kid and my family had to sell it to pay their phone bill. And I've been looking for a copy of that all these years. And some guy's like, it took me 10 years to find it, but I know how much it means to you. I'm going to give you my copy. And you're like, "Thank you so much." And then 6 months later, you're like, "I'm gonna sell it."
yeah, exactly.
There's
Well, it's just
something wrong with that. I have a
it's
friend and
dirty.
yeah, I have a friend, and he asked me what my favorite game was, and at the time, I was playing a ton of Slay the Spire, and I was like, "It's the best game you can play on the PS4." I bought him a copy and gave it to him for Christmas, and for years, I was like, "Did you ever get around to playing it? Did you ever get around to playing it? Did you ever get around to playing it?" "Nah, man, I haven't gotten to it." And then I found out a couple weeks ago he sold it.
Oh man.
That pissed me off, even though I only paid $7 for the game, and the game's worth like $25 now. That made me
Yeah.
angry because I was trying to share something with him, something that meant something to me. I wanted him to have the experience I had, and I didn't push it on him. He asked me if he could share in the experience, and I gifted him something. That's what Caleb did. He went to people, he asked them to share in this experience, and they did it at his benefit, and then he sold it for money. Even if it had
And he
just been one game
yeah.
that somebody sacrificed to give to him, that wouldn't have been okay. So 40
And
or
he's
60% doesn't matter. If it was 1%, I still don't agree with that.
and he's so pompous about it too when he brings it up. He's like, "Oh, I can't believe people are still upset about that." And it's like, "Well, dude, because it was such a tyrannical thing to do."
Well, a it wasn't a business video. That the GameCube Gambit was not a business video. It was I'm trying to collect my dream childhood collection.
Mhm.
That's what the
So
video was.
so the
I
crowd that
I
was
am trying to
interested in that
collect, not I'm trying to acquire all these cool things and then sell them. It was specifically my dream childhood GameCube collection. That was the
yeah.
big difference. It was the heart and soul behind the entire gesture, and that's why I think people got put off by it. Now, the people that love business, they like that. They're like, "Man, he sure talked them into a deal," you know? It's like
Yeah.
a used car salesman. Like, people hate used car salesmen because they, like, prey on your emotions to make a profit. But, like, they'll rip you off. They'll pull one over on you to make a buck, and those used car salesmen are in the back room, like, patting each other on the back and be like, "That story you told that guy about your grandma
Got him.
dying, you got
Oops,
him."
sorry.
That's
I
awesome.
scared the shit out of my cat there.
Sorry. But, yeah, a lot of these resellers, they're used car salesmen that are all patting each other on the back, and most of
Yeah,
the people watching those videos, they wanna be used car salesmen, used
pretty
car
much.
salespeople. So
I think that's why I get a lot of blowback when I try to say that he's like a manipulative person or like misleading. Because I think a lot of people just don't have experience with those type of people throughout their lives. Because I've dealt with some manipulative people, and even when I was a teenager, I may have even been kind of a little manipulative as well. Now being an adult, fully understanding that that's not the right way to be. So I have like a lot of practice at what is bullshit and what isn't. So I think I think whenever I try to point it out, and a lot of his fans come over and watch the video, they're just like, "Wow, you're so jealous and you're hateful towards him when all he's doing is trying to make a living for himself." And I'm like, "No, it's not about that. Of course I want people to like have, a good life and stuff like that, but for him to obtain this, he has chosen the route of I have to step on everyone else to get where I want to be."
Well, in a way, that is true, and I agree with you. But I'm going to say this: Caleb is a business person, and
Mhm.
you can go out into any place of business. You can go in a used bookstore, you can go in a pawn shop, you can go to a used car dealership, you can go anywhere, and anybody in those fields will do exactly what Caleb does. That's how business works. People are trying to
Yeah,
make money, and I don't fault them for that. I don't fault the guy at the pawn shop trying to buy the Rolex watch for $3,000 that he's going to sell for 15 grand.
right.
Do what you got to do. Whatever. That's fine. That's fine. Do it. The problem I have is those people aren't on YouTube, and people don't idolize them. People idolize resellers on YouTube. And that's the problem. When it's the shady car dealer down there, you can tell your friend, don't go to that car dealership because that guy's going to rip you off. But when that car dealer's got a YouTube channel with 480,000 subscribers, you're like, that guy's doing something right
Yeah.
when he's doing something wrong. So that's the problem I have with it. If Caleb didn't have a YouTube channel, no one would care. No one would care.
Because we wouldn't know.
We wouldn't know. And the
Yeah,
people that are paying extra money for games, they wouldn't know that they're paying extra money. And the people that sell him games for under market value don't know they're getting ripped off. Fine. That's just the way it's always been. It's been like that since the dawn of time. But
for sure.
there weren't millions of people watching it happen. That's the problem.
Yeah.
People
And
are
it
watching,
creates
idolizing him and other resellers ripping off people and making a profit, and they're looking up to that. It's like idolizing a drug dealer, like for making money. It's like, man, look at all the
it's
money. Look at the lifestyle this guy lives. And you're like,
I've made that comparison before. It's a pretty similar model of business, like how weed dealers or drugs dealers do it. It's buy in bulk for at a discount and then overcharge each. It's but no, you're absolutely right. I mean, it's the influence. There's a lot more people out there now doing this stuff, and like they're thinking that it's a good thing because it can like forward them financially and stuff. So but it's one of those things like reselling. It's just there's a good side to it. There's a bad side to it. There's no way to stop it. There's ways to help inform people. So that's really what I try to do is I just try to help inform people. That way they make better decisions because we can't stop Caleb from doing what he does or the hundreds of other people that do the same thing. But we can help educate and get the word out so that people get a more fair shot at interacting with that or selling their stuff or buying stuff. Now, speaking of retail, how do you feel about GameStop?
uh, man, that's a loaded question. uh,
Good and bad.
yeah. So you're talking about flipping stuff. I have
Well, just GameStop in general as a
Well,
retail
earlier,
location.
so people joke about like GameStop offering terrible prices.
Hmm.
And a lot of the time they really do. Sometimes they
Yep.
don't. I have this story that I went into a pawn shop. This is me not being a flipper. The times I do flip stuff, it's to GameStop
Right.
because I'm like, nobody's hurt by this situation.
Yeah, and they
I
they don't mind it.
Yeah, I walked into a pawn shop one day, and it was back when Grand Theft Auto 5 was getting like $30 trade in on the Xbox 360 and the PS3. It wasn't even out on the PS4 yet. I
Okay.
walked into a
Yeah.
GameStop and they had like 9 copies of Grand Theft Auto 5 on the shelf for like $10 a piece. And I was like, man, that's crazy. I can take this to GameStop, make $20 on each one of these. I'm totally going to do it. So I
Yeah.
bought them all. I went up to the counter and was like, can I get these? I didn't ask for a discount. And the guy's like, yeah, why are you buying so many? And I told him, I was like, you can trade these in at GameStop for $30. And he's like, do you want some more copies? And I was like, yeah. And he goes, how many do you want? And I was like, all you can give me. And he's like, come back like in 3 days. And I came back in 3 days, and he had gone to every branch of this pawn shop around the state and had them send him all the copies. And I picked up like 150 copies of Grand Theft Auto
Oh
5,
my God.
not realizing that you can only trade in 1 copy per day per
Yeah.
GameStop. So then I had to go to like 10 GameStops every day and like trade in 1 copy and then come back. I was fine with doing that.
Yeah. I was about to say,
So
I mean, $300 a day in store credit, right?
yeah, it was all on store credit. I just bought games with it. That's all I did. But I was fine with that. It was GameStop, it was a pawn shop, like, whatever. But like these people that, they take their whole game collections, and games that don't sell very well, GameStop will like drop to a penny or a dollar, and
Yeah.
then
Or
they
they
don't
have
give
like
you
too
the
many copies.
yeah, like they won't give you an itemized list. They'll just say like all this crap will trade in for $150. And you don't realize that like 4 out of the 30 items you have are worth the 150, and then the other 26 of them are a penny a piece, right? That's where people
Unless you
get
ask. Yeah.
yeah, unless you ask. And that's where people get screwed over. As for general shopping at GameStop, they did things like with Xenoblade Chronicles where they had the game reprinted and then they sold
Mhm.
it at like eBay, like $130 value. That's shady as crap. I don't like that.
They've had a couple of bad ones. Deus Ex was another one. They
Yep.
removed the DLC codes
Yep. They did a
or
bunch of stuff
something.
like that. That's shady. I don't like that. But in general, GameStop, like for used games, they seem to like be kind of in line with like eBay and stuff. So if you want to go buy like you're looking for Persona 5 Strikers on the PS4, like, just they got it at GameStop, just buy it. Like,
Yeah, there's a couple of key points that I like to point out with GameStop because I defend GameStop a lot. I'd say if you're a pro card member, you are having a fucking field day shopping at GameStop because they do so many exclusive deals. The trade-in bonus, the discounts they offer,
Mhm,
the early bird sales. I'll give you a real life example, and I have the receipt because I just did this yesterday. It was the first time I've traded a game in anywhere in years because I don't really like to do that anymore. But I had Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door for the Switch, and I played about 2.5, maybe 3 hours of it, and I was like, you know what? It's a good game, but it's not what I like. And I thought it was going to be more like the 64 one. I didn't
sure.
realize that or no, it was the Wii one. In the Wii one, you change the dimensions where it
Yeah,
turns to the side.
yeah, it
I
turns into,
thought
like, a
that
first person.
Right. I
Yeah,
thought that all the Paper Mario games were like that. And
okay,
apparently this one was more like RPG. And
yeah,
so I was thinking, let me see how much GameStop will give me for it trade credit wise. And they're offering for pro members right now $30.80. And I was like, that's not bad because I paid 60 for it when it came out. And I was thinking, that's not bad. I'll think about it. Then I realized I had the Metal Gear Solid Master Collection on the Switch. I still had it sealed because I didn't
mhm,
play it. Because I've played those games a million times. That's one of my favorite game franchises, Metal Gear Solid. And I have it on the PS5. And I was like, well, if I'm gonna play it, I'm gonna play it on the PS5 because it's gonna run better than on the Switch. So I was like, let me see how much they'll give me for that. And I know it's dropped a lot in price since it came out, but they were still gonna offer me like $16.50 trade. So then I was thinking, college football 25 is coming out. And I don't really want to pay $70 for it, but I definitely want the game. I pre-ordered the game, and so I was like, I could trade in that and get like $46.50, give or take. And then they called me to remind me that the game was, doing a midnight release. And they were like, "Oh, and keep in mind, if you trade in, towards this game, you'll get a 20% bonus.
Yep.
And I was like, that's sweet. So now I'm not going to get $46. I'm going to get like 50 something.
Yeah.
And then I look on my app, and there was like exclusive pro deal, extra 30% trade in on games. So I traded those 2 games in yesterday and they gave me $71 store credit for them.
There you go.
So I basically got college football and they owed me $1.49.
Yeah. That's how it's supposed to work, right? It's
Right.
supposed to be like that. And sometimes those things happen and they stack up. And
The
I have
triple
a
stack.
positive GameStop story that happened to me recently. I was looking for the game Scorn, SCORN, on the PlayStation 5, and it went out of print. It said it on Amazon for 2 years at $40. I just never picked it up. I was like, I'm going to go check it out on Amazon. No copies for sale. I go over to eBay and look. Game's going for $180.
Oh my
It's out of
gosh.
print. FOMO's
I've
gotten
heard of that one.
everybody. I go on
Yeah.
Macari, it's going for $250. I check everywhere. Best Buy, sold out. Everywhere, sold out. Go on GameStop's website, sold out. You type in your zip code. Do any stores within 100 miles of me have it? Nope.
Nope.
Anyway, so I just walk up to my local GameStop, and I was like, hey, I'm looking for this game, Scorn. They check. We don't have it in stock. Do any stores within 100 miles have it? Nope. I was like, man, I'm really looking for a copy of it. It's going for like $150 online. And the guy's like, give me a minute. He just called like a branch affiliate that like knew of all the stores in town. And he was like, yeah, I can just have them mail me a copy of it. And they just mailed me a copy of it. They were selling it for $35.
There you go.
So I was like,
Yeah, that's
that GameStop, that specific one had a great employee that really helped me out. And you know what happened? Loyalty
you're a
now. Now I'm
customer
like
now.
going in this store once a week and checking out and see if they have any good stuff. Because I was like, they did me a favor. And
And
I think
that's
that's what
exactly
that's how you're supposed to run a business. But
yeah.
then like some GameStops, they don't do you any favors. They feel like they rip you off. The employees don't like video games. They don't know anything about video games. And it's just a job to them. But this time I got a good one. So I like GameStop. I stop in GameStop all the time and I buy stuff. But then again, like I buy a lot of expensive games. So picking up like a $50 and $60 game here and there it's not that big a deal to me. But I don't buy that many new
Mhm.
games either. So
Yeah. That was
yeah.
one other thing I wanted to say about GameStop. When they do have retro games in stock, they don't sell them like if you get Emerald there, it's not $200 like it is on eBay.
Yeah.
They don't do price charting. They follow their own formula. And
Yeah.
so when I watch YouTubers that are resellers that take advantage of that, it really pisses me off. They're like, "Ooh, look, they sell this game for 30 and I can flip it on Amazon for 90 after fees and blah blah blah." That kind of annoys me. I don't like that type of retail arbitrage. Now I can
Yeah.
understand if you do it once in a blue moon, like how you did with 150 copies of Grand Theft Auto 5.
Yeah. It's the only time I've ever done something like that.
Yeah, but these guys are like full time. I'm gonna go to every GameStop in my state and buy everything that's worth a shit. And you know what? I actually had a reseller encounter walking into GameStop yesterday when I was going to trade in my stuff to buy the game. He saw me walking in with those 2 games in my hand and he's on the phone, but then he sees me and gets off the phone real quick and he goes, "Hey, are you trading those games in?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Do you mind if I take a look at them?" And I'm like, "No, I don't like resellers." And then I just like walked in the store and I was just sitting there thinking, like, man, I should have told him to check out my YouTube channel.
Oh man. Yeah.
But then
Yeah.
he proceeded to walk in after me and then kind of like got in my way for like 30 seconds. It felt like he didn't like that I didn't like him because of who he like,
Yeah.
what he did, which I don't fucking care. And plus, even if I did want to sell him my stuff, I knew he wasn't going to offer me $71 for it.
Right.
Um,
Exactly. It's offered
and
30
plus,
bucks.
who would I be like helping them out? And that's the thing too, is like I want to support GameStop, especially mine, because I want them to continue to stay in my city and be there for me because I love the stuff that they offer me. So like I'm not
Yeah.
gonna let you snipe my trade from GameStop.
Yeah.
Fuck you.
It's funny.
But yeah,
You
he
mentioned
went
that.
in there.
I've actually bought some things from people trying to trade in at GameStop before where GameStop didn't want it. A guy
Yeah.
was like trying to trade in a Genesis and a bunch of games. And GameStop at the time, they weren't taking retro stuff. And they're like, sorry, we can't take any of this. And I was like, are you guys okay if I make him an offer on it? I don't want to like do business in your place of business. And they're like, yeah, just do it in the parking lot. So I was like, how much are you looking to get for all this? And he's like, I was looking to get like this game for my son. And I
Mhm.
added it all up and it was worth like, I think it was worth about $200. And I was like, how about this? I go buy you the game you wanted for your son and I'll give you another $100 on top of it. And because this stuff's worth more than that. But I didn't sell any of it. I kept it like every game.
Right. Yeah, you were just you were doubling up, or like you were personally getting stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I like. I like to buy stuff, man. I just buy stuff.
I
That's all
like
I
to
want.
buy shit too, man.
But
I got a problem.
I see deals all the time at places, and I'm like, I could make money on that. But here's the thing: the first thing that pops into my mind, I was like, but then I gotta like take pictures of it and like clean it and test it
Yeah.
and put it up on eBay, and then like the
All
thing that
this
drives
effort.
me away from it more than anything, I gotta pack that crap up in a box and put a label on it and drive it to the post office.
Which is the worst place.
And then
The
like
second worst.
yeah, and then I gotta log into my PayPal account and, like, see the money and then, like, fill out freaking I gotta keep track of that on, like, a database to pay taxes on it at the end of the year. I'm like, it's not worth it. It's
And then
just
you gotta
not.
hope to God that whoever bought it is a legit buyer. And then not only that, but like hope that there wasn't something wrong with it before you can even spend the money, or at least that's how I would do it, you know?
Yeah, I don't wanna do all that, man. I don't wanna do
Yeah.
all that.
You could just clock in and work a job and then go home and be
Yeah, dude.
done.
Well, I'm fortunate that I mean, I have a good job, and then I have a side gig as a guitarist, so I anytime I want money for games, I just pick up a guitar gig and,
I was
I
actually
charge.
going to ask you about your hobbies next and what you do outside of YouTube. So, what
Oh, yeah.
field of work are you in?
I do Alzheimer's research at a university.
Oh, okay. Well, then that's on brand with the charity video.
Yeah, man. Yeah, let's do it. And then I do session guitar work. So I've been known to be a hired gun for guitar in like LA and
Okay, in Nashville.
Nashville and things like
Yeah,
that. And I still play for, you know, private dinner parties and country clubs and weddings and things like that. But
that's sweet.
I tend to play for more upscale clients and I charge them accordingly.
Yeah,
So, yeah,
we'll
that's
talk
where all
about
the
the
video game money comes from, is from, like, guitar gigs.
yeah. You got the side gig. We'll talk about the music stuff in a minute because I've been in like music is like my number one passion, and then gaming I'd say is second. Uh, But with the Alzheimer's, so what makes you passionate about that? Have you experienced a family member or like a close friend that's went through that?
I
Also, I
think
don't know how old you are. Are you like late 30s, early 40s?
I'm early 40s. I'm gonna be 42 this year.
Okay. That's
Yeah.
good. It's not
Um,
bad. Half
it's
at
not too
84.
bad. It's not too bad. I started YouTube when I was 40.
There you go. Hey, DDP
Just the
started being
perfect
a
right.
wrestler at 33, so
Exactly, right?
yeah.
Yeah, I did. I think everyone has had a family member that has been or a loved one that's been affected by Alzheimer's disease, and it's a
Dementia too.
debilitating disease, and it is absolutely 100% like one of the biggest issues in this country with people having to quit work to take care of people that have
Mhm.
Alzheimer's disease. And so I originally started out when I was doing research working in vision sciences and working on the neuroscience involved with the eyes. And I moved into Alzheimer's disease and I'm passionate about it, but it's hard. It weighs on you day after day studying a disease and trying to help cure a disease that affects so many millions of people every day. Because every day
Yeah.
you don't do something, you feel like you're letting people down, and people are dying every day. Someone died, a couple people died since we did this video, and I feel
Yeah.
like I should have been able to prevent that. So YouTube is like an outlet for me, my creative outlet to try to, like, build myself up, and like try to do something that I can directly affect. I mean, I affect Alzheimer's directly, but there's only so much that I can do, and I can only do it so fast. And I've been doing it for freaking 17 years. So it's I've done a lot, but I always feel like I should have done more. And but yeah, I think everybody's been affected with it. And when you see it day after day, I mean, that's the driving motivator, right?
Yeah. My great grandmother, when I was a kid, she had, dementia and Alzheimer's, and so I've witnessed it at a young age. Um, so only can describe like huge confusion, being blackout drunk without actually being drunk. I
Yeah, that's
guess
a good way to put it.
would be a certain way, because I mean everybody is a little different. And then my grandmother had a bad case of it too. Um, it is horrible, and it's one of those things like where I don't know if we'll ever be able to 100% cure it, but there are a lot of people that suffer with it, and it's really terrible. I work in home health. I do data entry,
Okay.
so I don't physically see patients or anything like that, but I see their charts, and a lot of people do have dementia or Alzheimer's, and they're not always old.
They're not
So
always old.
it's more common when you're older, but you just got to think about like what you put in your body. And I know it's kind of funny coming from me because I'm a big dude, but whatever damage you do to yourself as a young kid or like a teenager, it's gonna get you eventually. Like it's gonna catch up to you,
Yeah.
and make your chances of seeing or experiencing stuff that sucks worse. Like, you know what? I didn't really have social anxiety until I was like addicted to alcohol for a decade. And then like towards the end of it is when like the anxiety started. So basically, like if I was in Southeast Game Exchange and I had like 2 or 3 beers, I would have been fucking great.
Yeah.
But because I didn't, I was walking around thinking like, "Oh my god, I'm gonna pass out. Oh my god, I'm gonna pass out. Oh, dude, I'm getting dizzy. This is confusing. I can't focus on anything." Um, but not to make it mostly about me there, but just trying to kind of explain. Alzheimer's is horrible, man,
It's
and
terrible.
I wouldn't
It's
wish that
terrible.
on anybody.
But yeah, me either. Absolutely not. I'm
Yeah,
trying to do all I can to stop that.
but going over to music, which is a much brighter side of my life, and I'm actually a guitarist as well.
Oh, yeah.
I started playing when I was 15. I played. You know what got me into playing guitar? It
What was that?
was It was Guitar Hero 2.
Oh, man.
So I started playing that game, and I started on easy, and
Mhm.
I eventually made my way up to expert really fast, like within like 6 months. And then I just played the shit out of that game for years. And then one day I was like, you know what? I should see if I can get a guitar. And I'm left-handed. I'm a
Okay.
lefty, but I play right-handed.
Alright.
And yeah, I had the muscles built up from playing
Uh-huh.
Guitar Hero. So whenever I transitioned to playing guitar, it wasn't that bad. I mean, it was still tough in the beginning, as it always is,
Mhm.
but I stuck with it, and I was in a band for I think around 5 years, maybe longer. And I was a lead singer.
Oh,
But
wow.
unfortunately, that was during the alcoholism days, and that was one of the main reasons why I quit. I was like, it's fun playing in a band and in front of people, but there's no way in hell I would ever be able to do it sober. So I was like, if I want to quit drinking, I have to stop playing music, and well, at least I have to stop playing music live. So yeah, I still got all my guitars. I don't really have any like a super expensive guitar or anything like that, but I have a really nice Epiphone electric. I've got a 12 string Fender acoustic. I've got a Takamine acoustic.
Very
I
cool.
think I think I think that's what I got. But yeah, I love music is a passion of mine. I was a rapper for a while too. I
Oh,
did
my
some hip
lord.
hop music. I know. So there's some hip hop music out there
Yeah.
with me on there. And then I did the EDM thing for a while, just like
Oh, no.
all kinds of stuff. So
That's
I
awesome,
love
man.
music. So how long have you been playing guitar?
My parents made me start playing when I was 5, so I've
Oh,
been
okay.
playing
See,
37 years,
that's
just
cool
a
though.
little while, and, I took lessons 3 times a week, an hour at a time, every week till I
So
was 22 years old,
you learned the
and
right way.
practiced about 3 hours a day. And my dad was a professional guitarist or semi-professional guitarist in Nashville for many years, and I picked up a lot of stuff from him, but I started with classical. My dad played country and bluegrass. I picked up a lot of that. And then, of course, when I was in middle school and high school, I wanted to be like a shredder. I learned all the Eddie Van
Yeah.
Halen stuff and all the Yngwie
You listen.
Malmsteen things. And
I knew you were gonna say Malmsteen.
yeah, man,
Arpeggio God.
I can like freaking shred some Yngwie stuff. I cut my teeth on that kind of stuff. And then in college, I studied like jazz and composition. And then, but over the years, playing at country clubs and being a hired gun and a ghost writer and things like that, I ended up just learning to play a lot of different styles of music. So I'm really comfortable playing uh more or less anything. But my favorite thing to do these days is when I play at like a private dinner party or something like that, is taking songs you wouldn't expect to hear
Yeah.
and arranging them and playing them in like jazz finger style or like classical style. So you
Okay.
pick like a Megan Trainor or like a David Bowie song or like a Metallica song or something weird and just play it and like make people like it. Uh, so I
Yeah, because
love
they're
to
like,
do that.
wait a minute, is he playing he's playing Sad But True, but it sounds
Yeah. So it's funny you
like
mentioned
some
Sad
old
But
Ben
True. I
Folds.
absolutely 100% played the opening lick to Sad But True the other night when I was playing a gig. I was in drop D and I was playing uh
I could play the main riff to that song, but I never learned the actual progression. You
yeah, I was
gotta
playing.
know that because it's like, brr, it's so
Yeah,
badass to play.
that's one of the heaviest riffs of all time. I was playing Don't Stop Me Now by Queen, which I play in drop D. And I have an arrangement of that I've done. And at the end of it, there's like a fade out, and I did the dun, 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 boo doo 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 doo. And everybody's like,
See, I was a rhythm guitar player, so I didn't
"Mhm.
really get really good at lead, but I mean, I could shred pentatonic scale.
Oh yeah,
Uh, and like there was a couple of other little, not necessarily scales, but formulas that I would practice,
uh-huh,
and I was pretty good at that. Like there was one that was like do 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 do, and then I would
yep,
like do it until I was like do 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 do.
oh yeah." Sequencing up and down,
Yeah,
very cool.
that's what I use to practice alternate picking because when you play Guitar Hero, you don't really learn how to do that. And see, I never like learned how to read music or anything like that. I
Yeah,
just kind of like learned by ear.
mhm.
But who is your favorite guitar player? Like your
Man, that's a
idol guitar
tough
player?
one. That's a real tough one.
Well, pick three if you need to.
I'll tell you who I think are the 3 most important guitarists, right now on
Okay,
this whole world.
Name them by their name, and let's see if I know the band.
Well, one of them, you're not gonna know the band because he's not in a band.
Oh, okay.
It's Brent Mason.
Brent Mason.
Brent Mason, you've probably never heard of him, but you've heard him. He's the world record holder for the most recorded person in history. He's played on over 15,000 albums.
Oh,
He
okay.
is the
Studio.
number 1 session musician in the world, and he's written thousands and thousands of famous guitar riffs in Nashville and all over the place. You've heard the Alan Jackson song Chattahoochee.
Yeah.
Everybody's heard that song. He did the riff on that, but he's an old
Okay.
style country chicken picking player, but he can play anything, including bebop, jazz, and all kinds of stuff.
Hell yeah.
Phenomenal guy. My
I
number,
wish I could say that I know who that is for sure, but I think that I probably don't, and I just think the name is pretty common, like Brent Mason. It
Brent
sounds like a
Mason, he sounds like a guitarist. It
yeah.
sounds like he
Now
owns a guitar store.
now the
So
lead
Mason
guitarist,
Music, right?
yeah, my lead guitarist from my band, David, he would probably know who that is because he's
Maybe
like a
so.
guitar dude. He's probably playing guitar right now, like just like he's just sitting on the couch watching TV, playing along with commercials or something.
Okay. The
Yeah,
probably best, quote unquote, best guitarist in the world is Guthrie Govan.
Guthrie. I know Woody Guthrie, but
He's
that's
not
not
Woody
who.
Guthrie. We're not doing Woody
Yeah.
Guthrie. We're not doing like old folk music. No, Guthrie Govan is an English guitarist. He's a jazz guitarist. He's another session musician, but he is technically probably the best. He can play any style and he can emulate any artist you've ever heard. And he can do something which I consider to be the pinnacle of musicianship, which is where you ask someone to play a song in the style of another musician. So you can say
Okay.
something like, can you play Led Zeppelin in the style of Dmitri Shostakovich? Or can you play Taylor Swift in the style of Beethoven? And he can do that instantaneously in any key, in any style you want. And I
That's pretty
find that,
sick.
yeah, it's pretty amazing. He's incredible. But in my life and our lives, we've idolized these guitar gods from history. There's been Jimmy Page, there's been Chet Atkins, there's been, Yngwie Malmsteen, all these great guys. But in my life, there've really only been like one, like quote unquote guitar god, and it's like John Mayer. I'm like, John Mayer? Really? Like, but
I'd say he's a great songwriter. I mean, he's not bad on guitar.
he's very good on guitar, but I'm kind of like, I don't want to listen to it.
Yeah.
Like I get it, but I don't want to listen to it. But right now there's kind of a phenomenon going on in music with a new technique I've never seen. I've never heard anybody play in this style, and the band is Polyphia.
I've heard of them.
And it's this very extremely technical shred hip hop hybrid picking nonsense. And the two guitarists from that band, one is Scotty LePage, the other one is named Tim Henson. And Tim Henson, who looks like he looks like a punk kid. He has like revolutionized the way everybody's playing guitar now. Stuff that you never would have thought was possible, he has shown is possible, and he's developed techniques I've never seen anybody really do. And I think he's kind of leading the way right now and moving guitar forward. And he's probably like the modern guitar god at the moment. There's also Tosin Abasi from Animals as Leaders.
Oh yeah, that guy's great.
He's
I've
up there
heard them
doing the
plenty of
same thing.
times.
And my band opened for Animals as Leaders. So
Nice.
I've met Tosin a number of times. He's a really cool guy.
Are they still all instrumental?
They're still all instrumental.
That's
And
great.
Polyphia is all instrumental. They have a singer here and there on a track or two, but they're still all instrumental. But I think they're the two guitarists really pushing the instrument forward these days. And so,
Hell
like
yeah.
I said, for years and years and years, I've been just paid to play what people needed me to play. And I've had to like relearn the way I thought about the guitar because of these two guys, which is cool. I'm excited about that.
That's crazy, man. I figured I would know at least one of the three, but that just goes to show you the different taste of music and, you know, passions that people have with these instruments and who we all listen to as an individual and stuff. Cause see, like for me, like my favorite guitar player ever, everybody knows him for the most part. It's Tom Morello.
Big Rage Against the Machine guy.
That and Audio Slave
Yeah.
and damn, what was the other band he played for?
The Watchmen or something
Okay,
like
yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah. But no, it's mostly honestly, it's mostly the Audio Slave stuff because
Really?
you know, I didn't know. See, when I was a teenager and I first heard Audio Slave, I didn't know that Chris Cornell was the singer from Soundgarden at the
Mm-hmm.
time, and that he had formed this band with the former guitar player of Rage Against the Machine, and I think the bass player is from Rage too.
Yeah.
Um, so I just really love the riffs, and he doesn't really go ham too
Mm.
much, but the like the damn, what am I trying to say here? The exploration of the instrument that he takes and like how he can make it sound like fucking like computer noises on some
Yeah.
things. But like I Am the Highway, such a simple song, and like his solo in that is just so simplistic. But sometimes the things that matter the most to you are pretty simple. Like think about how the Beatles never really did anything complicated, but then again, Ringo Starr is one of the best drummers ever because he was just so good at a pocket drumming.
Well, you got to remember that not only the guitar, but music is a tool, right? And the purpose of a tool is to help you, assist you complete a task. And that
Right.
task for a musician is get like the emotion that's in my heart into your ears
Mhm.
and hope your brain can interpret what I'm trying to do, right? That's the sign of a good
Yeah.
musician. And
I want you to
sometimes
feel how I feel.
you
Yeah.
need the most complicated tool in the world, and sometimes you just need a hammer. And Tom Morello and the Beatles, those guys were like masters of using a hammer. And so those riffs that Tom Morello was pumping out, I mean, nobody's going to say they're not bangers. And the Beatles, I mean, their music's pretty complicated. It gets more complicated the more you delve into it, but it
Mhm.
doesn't feel that way. Audio Slave and Rage Against the Machine are similar to that. And
Yeah.
I gained more and more appreciation for that style of music over time. I've spent so much time like studying the most complicated music ever, 12 tone atonal music and freaking Arnold Schoenberg and aleatoric music and all kinds of crap nobody ever wants to listen to, and studying bebop jazz and freaking fusion jazz and metal and death metal, all kinds of stuff. And then at the end of the day, I'm just like, freaking Bulls on Parade. Like,
That song, you know what? If I hope that like when I die, I get like a graph or like a journal of like the most things that you've listened to in your head, or like how many pieces of fingernail did you chew through your
yeah,
life.
right. How many steps
I
did you take in your life?
I hope one of them is like top song replayed in head. It's gonna be
Exactly.
just
I
the
like the
intro to Bulls on Parade.
boom, boom, ba-da-da-dum,
Yeah, that song
yeah.
kicks so much ass, and I love watching YouTube videos of people that are like first time hearing Bulls on Parade because I'm
I
a hip
love
hop
those.
fan or
I love
something.
those freaking reaction videos. I
Yeah,
love them. I will watch them. My favorite are the ones where it's like hip hop fan reacts to, and it's
yeah,
always either like they're listening to like Cannibal Corpse or they're listening to like Dwight Yoakam. They're listening to like country
Dwight
hillbilly
Yoakam.
music. And I'm like, give me all of this. I'll watch that all day long. I think it's such lazy, worthless content, but it's so good. It's so
Because
good.
you're like, oh, he's gonna react to this song. I wonder if he's gonna like it the way I do. And then you see him and they're just listening to it and they're like,
Yeah, they
you
always
just
love it
can't help but
every
love
time.
it.
Yeah, they can't help but
Yeah,
love it because 'cause they're good songs. Sometimes there's, like, the charismatic voice, and she's a professional vocal teacher, and she analyzes music. She goes very deep in depth to, like, your vocal folds and your head voice and all this stuff, and she can pick out the keys of the music, and they're, like, classical composers that react to it, and then sometimes it's just, like, Lost in Vegas, and they're like, "We like hip hop, and I like the groove of this song," and they're like, "That was dirty." I'm like, "That correct, that was a very dirty riff. Tell me more
I
about
think
the dirtiness of it."
I think I may have seen that lady react to Brennan Urie from Panic at the Disco singing before,
Yes.
because he
Yes.
has a really ridiculous range,
He
like with
does,
his
it's
voice.
insane. I've seen that
Yeah,
video, and,
he's also my favorite vocalist of all time.
really? You know who my
Yeah,
favorite male vocalist is of all time? Chris
is it
Cornell.
someone Chris Cornell?
Yeah,
Okay,
it's
yeah, I
Chris
mean
Cornell.
that's a phenomenal choice because he's just amazing. And you know what really sucks
Mm,
is Carolina Rebellion is like a festival that they used
mhm.
to put on, and the year that he died, they were supposed to play, and because
Oh,
he passed away a, like a month or two before that, they weren't there, and that was my chance to see Audio Slave.
oh,
Um,
that's a bummer.
I know. Bring your rusty cage. I know that's
Yeah.
Soundgarden, but um, I did get to see Avenged Sevenfold though, and that was pretty badass. And the
Really?
Offspring, dude, they had a banger lineup that year, and this is all on the same day. They had Volbeat, Seether, Offspring. Uh, I don't really like them, but they were there. Falling in Reverse,
I don't
um,
like Falling in Reverse. I love
Coheed
Volbeat,
and
though.
Cambria.
Coheed and Cambria is fun too.
Yeah, Taking Back Sunday, which they're pretty bad live. The dude doesn't even sing the song.
Really? I haven't seen them live, but I
Yeah.
missed them. They were playing with Attack Attack and Attila, I think,
Oh,
and
Attila.
yeah, they were the headliners,
Yeah,
and,
that's another Ronnie Radke band.
yep, and,
Yeah.
that show was the hottest of garbage.
Right. I mean, if it's got a toe on it, it probably was.
Yeah.
No, I like Escape the Fate, like the old
Mm.
Escape the Fate songs, but I don't really get down with Falling in Reverse. But no, Chris Cornell, I know it's kind of like a way of wrapping around back to that. Fantastic vocalist choice, and even Chester Bennington from Linkin Park, because they were really good friends, and
Yeah.
there's a lot of theories that they didn't commit suicide and that they were taken out because both of them were secretly working together to uncover bad stuff going on behind the scenes in music, like with abuse and stuff like that.
I have not heard that conspiracy theory, but I'm
Really?
intrigued.
There's some YouTube videos about it. Just try to look up like Chester Bennington, Chris Cornell. I don't know if I can really say the words because I know everybody always mutes them in their videos, but it had to do with abuse, like
Hmm. Interesting.
physical abuse, not violent abuse, but like
Yeah.
the other kind of abuse. But yeah, I mean, because I'd really like to think that they weren't terrible off, mentally and stuff, and that something shitty did happen to them that wasn't self-inflicted. I'd really like to believe that because those two people, I still listen to their music almost I wouldn't say every day, but every week for sure. Like I'll be like, damn, man, I really need to go back and listen to Linkin Park again because I just got that angst in me,
Yeah. I mean,
Or
I get it. I know there's solace in thinking that, like, that didn't happen, but I listen to them a lot too, and both of them have a lot of pain in their voice.
yeah,
So, I'm like, there's a lot going on. They wouldn't be able to sing the way they did if that pain wasn't there. So,
true,
that leads me to believe that, like, maybe it did happen. Now, I don't know. I'm not a forensic expert in what happened, but
yeah,
I can see how both things would be comforting to someone to know that, like, they were just so pained they had to end their own life to escape it. I get it. Or, like, they knew some bad shit that was going on and they were taken out by, whatever their record label was.
yeah,
But regardless, it's tragic that we lost both of them so soon and so close to each other. And I feel like music has not, like, recovered from that since. I
right,
they were like the last hard rock big vocalists. They were still kicking around and, like, making awesome music that weren't just, like, rehashing the same thing they've done a million times, and
true,
miss them both. Like, I think about it all the time, and,
yeah.
my favorite Chris Cornell performance and my favorite song of his was when he did, um, the theme song from the James Bond movie Casino Royale.
I don't know if I've heard that.
Oh, it's so good. It's called "You Know My Name," and it's unbelievably cool. Most of the, James Bond themes are written by an artist, and they just pick a song for the movie. He actually co-wrote it with the composer that did the, like, orchestral soundtrack
That's
for
awesome.
Casino Royale, and it is by far my favorite James Bond theme, and you could hear him screaming in that, like, I bet he couldn't talk for, like, 3 days after recording that song.
Probably.
Yeah.
My band actually, we used to cover the Temple of the Dog song, Hunger Strike.
Oh, yeah, man, the one that they did with,
Yeah. Eddie
Soundgarden and
Vedder.
Pearl Jam together.
Yeah. Of course, I did the Eddie Vedder parts, but the lead guitar player, he was also a vocalist. We had that like dual vocalist thing going on.
Yeah,
So he was like, "I'm gonna do the Chris Cornell parts, and you could do the Eddie Vedder because it's like more of a like lower side."
yeah,
Yeah, I mean Eddie Vedder can still sing pretty good, like high up too, but Cornell is like belting. Like
yeah, though.
most of the time, his range is unattainable for me unless because like how do you practice that if you like live in a house with somebody else? You can't just sit there and scream all day.
That's the thing, though, about Chris Cornell, like, that "I'm going hungry," like, I can barely hit those notes, like, in a whisper. If I were to try to belt that, like, it would rattle the windows, right?
Yep.
And then my voice
Hmm.
would be shot for a month. when you watch him sing, it doesn't look like he's doing anything. He's like
Like it's
screaming
not
these high
hard.
notes, and he's just like he would hold the microphone with like 2 fingers, and it's just this high screaming, and he's just like loose mouth, just it was effortless almost to
Mhm.
him. And that's what I always loved about the way he sang was that a lot of people, when they sing, it looks like they're forcing it, like they have veins popping out in their neck and like they're turning red in the face. With
Like when
him, it
Puddle of
felt
Mud
like,
covered Nirvana.
yeah, right. With him, it felt like all that energy was there and he was having to like hold it back.
Right.
Like it was like a dam waiting to break. And like that's the way I felt about Chris Cornell. Like those high notes, like that was he wasn't giving 110%. He was like doing his best to try to give 70%, but 110% was just coming out. And that's what I thought was so cool. It was this like unbridled, almost wildness that like he was trying to tame his voice. And like I said, I don't think anybody has ever captured that since.
Yeah. He'll be missed, man.
Yeah.
R.I.P. Him, Chester. Um, I know he's not a musician, but Robin Williams, I still miss him too. But
Yeah. We all do. We grew up on
yeah,
Robin Williams.
oh yeah. But now let's get back to games because I feel like a lot of people probably like, man, I didn't sign up for music and stuff. But you know what?
Yeah, I know.
Music's a big thing. So whenever I hear somebody else talk about it, or if like a fellow musician and stuff, I gotta go there. I gotta talk about music because I just love music so much. It's one of my favorite hobbies. Just even listening to music.
Mhm.
Um, but what would you say if you had to pick one? What would be your favorite game system of all time?
It's real easy. People ask me this every freaking day.
I'm sure
It's the PS4.
the PS4.
The PS4. Name another system that has AAA realistic graphics, first person shooters, and also has like new 8-bit side scrollers made for it.
The Xbox One.
Negatory Ghost Rider.
I love the PlayStation 4. It's great. But I tell you what, man, I've never really thought about it until the last like month. I prefer the Xbox. Now, don't get me
Really?
wrong. My favorite game system of all time is the PlayStation 2.
That's my number 2.
Yeah. It makes sense. It's easy to remember. I like
Yeah.
PlayStation 2 is number 2.
Yeah.
But I don't know, man. I think a lot of my opinion is based on Sony really pisses me off with like
Really? Microsoft
some of the
really
stuff.
pisses me off.
Really?
You mean the Xbox One is your favorite?
No, 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 no. No, I prefer the Series X. Like that's what I play the most out of all of my systems is the Series
Really?
X.
You wanna know something
Yeah.
crazy?
Well,
I've played, like, probably about 5,000 games in my life. I own, like, every console from the most obscure stuff. I have never seen or touched or encountered a Series X in my entire life.
wow.
I don't know a
That's
single
crazy.
person that owns one. I've never seen one. That's the one that looks
Well,
like
now you
like
do.
a rectangle, right?
Yeah, it's like a black rectangle box. Cause I own the Series S and then I upgraded to the X.
Yeah, I've never seen one in real life, never touched one, never played one.
Man, I just love it. I think the controller is perfect. I like the Game Pass. I always thought Xbox Live was better than PlayStation Network, but the things about Sony that really pissed me off, and this goes back to the PS2 days. So don't get me wrong, I love Sony PlayStation 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, but I'll try to like make this really fast. So I'll just like give you the cliff notes of my problems with Sony. Starting with the PS1's great. I'm not going to even talk shit about the PS1. PS2, I had it. I wanted to play Rock Band on it. Found out my disc laser doesn't read dual layer DVDs. So then I found out that there was this handful of dual layered DVD games like God of War 2, Rock Band, and some of the Guitar Heroes that I couldn't play. Like it just wouldn't. So I'd have to send it off, pay them $50 to fix the laser and stuff. So that pissed me off. Then I had the backwards compatible PS3, the piano black, the fat one with all the
Mhm.
ports and everything, like the OG 80 gig model. And then it just stopped reading disc one day after an update, so that pissed me off. and I called them about it. And they were like, yeah, we'll have to fix it. It'll be $150. This happened a month after my year warranty ran out. So that made me mad. I traded it into my GameStop that I worked out at the time. They gave me almost $300 store credit for it, even though it was broken and they knew it was broken. And I bought an Xbox 360 and like 10 games with that credit. Fast forward PS4, I don't really have a problem with PS4 except for the fact they decided to start charging for their online service. And I hated the fact that I couldn't play any of the PS3 games I owned on it, but I could subscribe to their stupid ass PlayStation Now and play the same games streamed. Um, and then that kind of bled over to the PS5. And so like now I don't the problem that I have with them is I think their online service for what they give you in the basic tier, I just hate it. And because I would want everything, and that's like almost what $200 a year. So the way I run PlayStation in my house is PS5 is for single player games. So all the Assassin's Creeds and shit like that, I play it
Mhm.
on there. I play Last of Us 2 on there. I have the Portal, which was hard as hell to get a hold of, but I finally got one. Most recent PS5 game I played was Mirage and then Stray before that. Stray is pretty
Okay.
fun. And then Xbox, I use that for mostly multiplayer games and stuff.
Yeah, I get where you're coming from. You wanna
They've
hear a
hurt me. They've
Yeah,
hurt me a
I
lot.
understand, you're wounded. You wanna hear a different
Yeah.
side of the story?
Yeah.
I don't
Let's
play
go.
any online games, and I don't connect my consoles to the internet. I don't patch any games, I just play them straight off the disc the way they come.
There you go.
Yeah, so,
There's
like,
a couple of
multiplayer
games you can't really play though, but I mean, other than
Yeah,
just
I
a
just don't
couple.
buy them.
Yeah, so you probably know about that website. I can't remember the name of the website. There's a website that actually
Yeah,
tells you what games.
doesitplay.org.
That's what it is. Yeah.
Yeah. I always check that before I buy anything, but I don't play any online experiences. I used to play a lot of online games. I was
Call of
addicted to
Duty.
World of Warcraft, I played Call of Duty, I played Halo, all that sort of stuff, and I would sink, like first of all, there's only so many hours in the day I have for
Yeah.
gaming, right? And I have all these games I wanna play. I would sink all these hours and hours and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours of playing, like, multiplayer and stuff, and then I'd finish the game, and my memories as I thought back on it, they were no more impactful than playing, like, a 10-hour-long single-player game. Like, I was like, I had a lot of fun playing Halo 3 online, it was really cool,
Mhm.
but I spent, like, 500 hours on it. I could have played 50 or 60 other games in the same amount of time,
Probably, yeah.
and so I was like, it's just not worth it to me. I Online video games to me are, like, almost a different hobby than playing single player games. It's like reading. Like
Yeah.
a single player game is like reading a novel, and a multiplayer game is like doing a crossword puzzle. Like, it's this
Yeah.
daily activity that you do. It involves the same things. You have letters and words and, but it's a different experience and it's a different mindset. And I love, 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 love online multiplayer, but I can't trust myself to do it because that's all I'll want to do.
Yeah, it'll suck you in.
It'll
And
suck
you know
me in.
what? Nowadays, too, games are designed to keep you on the thing for a year until the next version of that comes out. Like Call of Duty, like, oh, we got season 1, season 2, season 3,
Yep.
new maps coming out, season 5, and then like Ark's the same way. World of Warcraft, expansions
Oh,
released over
yeah.
time. I gave World of Warcraft a fair shake. I made it to level 19 and I was like, you know what? This is the same shit over and over again. I'm done with this. I'm not going to pay monthly to do the same thing over and over again.
I was, in one of the best guilds in the world that required you to play 20 hours a week.
The Alliance? Nah, I'm just kidding. You're
Yeah, I
talking about
played for the
guilds.
Alliance and I played for the Horde. I had 2
Yeah.
characters that were both. This guild
Man,
had they did both sides.
let me tell you the thing about World of Warcraft that really, really hurt me. When I started playing, if you left like certain areas, people could just like PvP your ass
Yeah,
at
jank you
will. Yeah.
or
And
gank
then
you, that's it, gank you.
and then once I got high enough level to where I could like do it back to people, they changed the game to where you have to agree to a duel. So it's like they could bully the shit out of me, but then like when I finally get my time, they're like, nope, can't do it anymore.
Oh,
I'm
man.
like, you sons of bitches.
Yeah, it's just like being an adult and wanting to go beat up kids. You can't do it anymore. But when you're a kid, you can beat
I
up all the
know.
adults you want.
Yeah. Or kids. You can beat up all
Yeah,
the kids when you're a
true.
kid.
Well, not anymore. But yeah, man, I try to stay away from multiplayer as much as I can and
It's tough,
just
man.
focus on my backlog. And now that I have a YouTube channel where I like review every freaking game I play, I gotta play the freaking games, man.
Yeah, it's like work now.
Yeah, I still love it and it's fun, but I don't want to let anybody down. I don't want to go like 3 months and be like, I didn't finish any games because I've been playing freaking what's
Call of
like
Duty,
something everybody really loves playing online. Roblox. I've been playing Roblox daily.
Roblox,
Right. So
Minecraft.
yeah, I've been playing Minecraft. I do play Minecraft with my daughter, but that's different.
Minecraft's awesome. It's
Yeah,
one of the best. Well, let's wrap up with one last question, and it's another easy one, just like the consoles.
lay it
Top
on me.
three, top three favorite video games.
Man, that's a good one. It has changed in the last year. My number 1 got booted. So,
I'm
gone.
sorry.
Just
Scared
gone, man.
scared my cat again.
Kicked to the curb and left to bleed out on the pavement. It's gone. My number 1 game is Castlevania Symphony of the Night on the PlayStation 1.
Hell yeah. That's a
My
good
n
one.
It's a good one. My number 2 game, I think, is Final Fantasy Tactics, also
For
on
the
the PlayStation
PlayStation 1?
1. Yep. And then my number 3 game, man, this is
So was
tough.
Tactics the one that got booted from number 1 or
No, it used to be The Binding of Isaac,
okay.
and it
I know
got
that game.
booted from, like, number 1 to, like,
47.
150. Like, it just way down. Uh, I'm gonna say that my number 3 favorite game of all time is Grand Theft Auto 4?
Dude, I respect it, man. 4
Yeah,
doesn't get nearly as much love as it should
it was
anymore,
just
especially.
Liberty City was just, like, so engrossing. It felt like a real world.
Yeah. Plus Nico was just like the best character.
He was great.
And Roman, being
Yeah.
American TT's cousin.
Yeah, I know. I went bowling with him every time he called me.
That's great, man. Yeah, Grand Theft Auto 4 is awesome. A lot of people complain about the driving mechanics in that, but you know what, man? I didn't even really hate it that much. And I played that on multiplayer on the PS3 when it was, the most modern one. And I really loved that when you were partied up with people in the game, the way you would voice chat them is by calling them on the actual phone
I
in the
know,
game.
that was so much fun.
It was cool as hell, man.
Yeah. The driving in that was squirrely, but you
Mhm.
got used to it.
Yeah, it wasn't that bad.
It wasn't that bad. It wasn't I didn't even say it was bad. It was just weird. I've played other racing games that had worse controls than that,
Yeah.
so I can't fault it too much.
I tell you a game that has some of the worst driving I've ever experienced, and that was Watch Dogs. Wait, is it Watch Dogs? That's the hacking one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, the driving in that game, they shouldn't even make you drive in that game.
That game was a large disappointment across the board.
Oh yeah, it's pretty rough. Overhyped. That's got to be one of the most overhyped games ever. That sucked. I don't want to say it sucked. I mean, it was okay.
The the trailer to that, go back and watch the trailer now, and you're like, "The PS5 couldn't run this crap." Like,
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
just no
No,
way.
I do remember that. I remember they when the game came out, they patched it and took like half of the details out.
It was insane. In that trailer, he's walking across the street, and there's, like, a ball of paper that is blown across the pavement, and it has, like, text on it, and the shadows on the ground actually mimic the shape of the crumpled paper as it rolls by, and I was like, "It's a new world. These games are like reality now." And then you get the game, and it didn't even have, like, textures.
Yeah, it
Like
was misleading as fuck.
yeah, it
Ubisoft
was.
dropped the ball, man.
Yeah, but now I'm like, "There's no way. There's no way that that was ever gameplay." We know it wasn't. It was just like animated the whole thing, but at the time they got me. They got me hook, line, and sinker. I fell for it like the sucker I am, but no more. I know better now.
That's great. Well, hey, I tell you, that's a solid 3, man.
Yeah,
Symphony of the Night, Tactics, and Grand Theft Auto 4.
yeah.
I can respect it, man. I'm excited for Grand Theft Auto 6.
I am too. I'll be happy when it comes out in the next 5 years.
Yeah, it's gonna be a while. I gotta stay alive long enough to play it.
Yeah, I think about that every day. People ask me, they're like, "Do you think you'll live long enough to play those games?" And I'm like, I did the
I
math.
hope so.
As long as I stay under 6,000 games and I live to be 85, I'm all right.
Yep. And don't add anymore.
Don't add any more.
Yeah,
I've got a few more. I can get about 2,000 more, and then I gotta stop.
absolutely. Well, hey man, I appreciate you so much for coming on and doing the hanging with episode with me. See, I told you, I said I was trying to keep it at an hour, and here we are at 2 hours and 5 minutes. Always
Fair enough.
happens, man.
I'm happy to
Always
do it, man,
happens.
and thank you so much for having me on. It's been a pleasure. Thank you for taking it easy on me.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. This how I really am. But yeah, for everybody watching, man, if you're interested in checking out RNG Gamer stuff, pretty easy to find. Just RNG Gamer. That's all you
Yeah,
got to
you can
put
just
in, and he'll
Google
come
it.
right
You don't
up.
even have to type it on YouTube. Just type in RNG Gamer on Google, and I'll pop up on you.
There you go. He's got great content, man. I love watching his stuff. And like I said, man, thank you so much. And I think that's it. Unless you got some closing statement or anything you want to say to the fans.
Appreciate everybody that watched this. Thank you so much. I know you've checked out Heckin Steve. If you want to come check me out, new videos come out every Saturday morning, and we live stream right on YouTube every Tuesday evening at 8 o'clock Central Standard Time. Love to have you there. I will chat with you just like this if you come to the live stream. I will answer every one of your questions. So if you want to ask me anything, that's the best way to do it.
Awesome, man. And with that, another episode in the books. Thanks, man. And I'll catch you guys next time.